Hello, hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to this week's episode of Embodied Divinity. I'm really, really excited for the conversation we're going to have today because it feels deeply aligned with the energy of the season and the spirit of miracles. But before we dive in, I just want to say wherever you're at, whoever you are, however you are celebrating or not celebrating, I hope this season brings you so much love, connection, abundance, grace, and peace. Let's take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I'm getting ready to head to Cache Valley, my hometown here in Utah, for a few days to spend some time with family and do some skiing and ice skating and all the fun little things. So I'm very excited to just breathe in that fresh winter air and step back from the norm. Today, we are talking about Christ consciousness, the path of surrender, and how you can open yourself up to a flow of miracles, abundance, and peace in your life. This has been something I've been really diving into for the last several years, but has really always been a theme in my life. I have a deep affinity and love for Jesus, who he was as a person, and I try in my everyday life to emulate his characteristics. I think he was an incredible human being and really understood the purpose of this life and this existence, really embodied Christ consciousness. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I don't believe Jesus is my savior or ever was a savior, but rather the pure embodiment of Christ consciousness and an example of what we can all, each and every one of us, possess. So, whether you resonate with Jesus as a teacher or a symbol or a divine energy, his life and teachings hold a powerful truth. Miracles are not extraordinary, they are natural. They flow when we align, when we surrender and allow life to move through us. I know this because I've lived it, and each and every day I embody it just a little bit more. And if you're here listening, I'm assuming that you do the same in your own way, in your own shape, at your own pace. Today, I want to invite you to explore what it really means to live in alignment with Christ consciousness, to surrender to the flow of life, and to recognize and release the blocks that might keep us from receiving the miracles we've been waiting for. So let's breathe together one more time as we open this sacred space. In through your nose and out through your mouth. One more time, big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. So, what is Christ consciousness? Christ consciousness is not a religious idea, it's a state of awareness. It's living in alignment with divine truth, love, and trust. It's understanding that you are not separate from Source. You are an expression of Source. Jesus walked this earth as an embodiment of that consciousness. He trusted so deeply in his connection to the divine that miracles flowed through him effortlessly. He didn't force them, he didn't chase them, he simply knew who he was. He lived from love, not fear. He surrendered outcomes and trusted divine timing. He recognized that all life is held, supported, and guided by Source. And that knowing That state of being is available to you. I really loved the show The Chosen. It's on Angel Studios, but I believe you can watch the first season on Netflix. I loved watching it from the perspective of knowing that he was the pure embodiment of Christ consciousness and that I and every human could access the same miracles, the same healing, the same unfolding of life as we emulated that trust, that surrender. So if you're looking for a really yummy show to binge watch, watching at least the first, I would say 3 or 4 seasons, it gets a little bit more like biblical and religious after the fourth, but really the first 3 to 4 seasons are really powerful if you can watch from that perspective, knowing that you too can create miracles. But really, Christ consciousness is about remembering that life is happening for you, not against you. Remembering that you are worthy of miracles, abundance, and love, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. So here's the part that we often surrender. We've talked about this a lot on this show. Surrender. We often think that surrender means giving up, losing control, or becoming passive. But true surrender is an act of power. It's choosing to trust the flow of life more than the limits of your mind. Let's say that again. It's choosing to trust the flow of life more than the limits of your mind. When you surrender, you're not saying, I give up. You're saying, I trust. I trust that the universe is conspiring for me. I trust that life is guiding me. I trust that my desires exist because they are already on their way to me. And from that place of trust, miracles flow. Why? Because when you surrender, you release resistance. Resistance blocks the flow of abundance, clarity, and love. Surrender softens your grip and opens you to receiving. You stop forcing outcomes. Life doesn't respond to force, it responds to alignment. And when you surrender, you align. And you allow divine intelligence to guide you. Sometimes what you think you want isn't aligned with what is meant for you. Surrender allows something even better to arrive. So pause for a moment and reflect on this question. Where are you resisting right now? Where are you trying to force or control the outcome? And what would shift if you allowed yourself to soften, to trust, to open to greater possibility? Whenever I ask questions during our conversation, I always put the questions in the podcast description. So you can go back and look at those, maybe use it for some journaling over this week. But really, really sit with those questions. So we know what Christ consciousness is. It's a state of being. We know that surrender allows that state of being to move through us with more ease. The truth is, miracles are always available to us. They are our birthright. But often we block them through doubt, fear, and feelings of unworthiness. Here are 3 common blocks that I've seen between myself and my clients and my community to receiving miracles. Number 1. So just sit with this and notice if anything comes up, if you resonate with any of these, and maybe just jot down some notes. The belief that you have to earn it. And oh man, was this programmed into my psyche through my family. This was one of those miracles of reparenting my inner child, which you can start this journey. I have the inner child oracle cards and the inner child guidebook on my website. But that belief that you have to earn it often stems from generations and generations of this programming. We've been conditioned to believe that we must struggle or prove ourselves to be worthy of abundance or love. But miracles don't come from effort, they come from alignment. And how do we align? The first step is surrender. So, an affirmation that let's just say out loud right now that really helps with this belief of you have to earn it. I am worthy of receiving miracles. I allow life to bless me with ease. I am worthy of receiving miracles. I allow life to bless me with ease. Okay, so the second one, attachment to outcomes. When you cling to a specific outcome, you close yourself off to what's possible. It's like a clenched butthole or fist. When it's clenched and tight, nothing can move through it. But when we open and release, everything flows. Surrender means holding your desires lightly, allowing the universe to bring you what's truly meant for you. I want everybody to open their hand right now. And imagine you have this desire in your hand. Hold it gently. See what that feels like. And now try to clench your hand closed around this desire. See how there's no room to breathe, no room to move. And now let it go. Open your hand again. See how much free, how much more spacious it feels. The desire is still there. It's still in your periphery, but you're not clenched and tight and uncomfortable. It's open and free. So a reflection question for this is, where am I attached? What would happen if I let go and trusted the process? All right, number 3, fear of being disappointed. And oh boy, this one's hard. Fear can keep you from opening to miracles because it whispers, what if it doesn't work out? But here's the truth, not receiving what you thought you wanted is not a failure. It's a redirection. And I can guarantee you, if you look back at your life, at moments when you experienced what you thought in the moment was a huge loss, that you can see now in hindsight what a huge redirection it was. There are so many things in my life that I look at and I'm just like, I remember being in that moment and thinking that everything was over. And looking back now, I'm like, oh my damn, the universe is so wise and magical. Because these moments, these perceived losses prepared me and positioned me for a life greater than I could have imagined. So a mantra here is, I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. Let's say that out loud together. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. I'm sorry for all the yawns this morning. I had a much harder gym workout than I thought I would, and my body wants a nap. Mm. That's exactly where I'm going after I record this episode. Okay, so I know it's really easy to talk about like, what is Christ consciousness? What is surrender? How do we release these? But let's talk about some really practical ways to live in Christ consciousness day to day, moment to moment. How can you embody this truth in your daily life? I'm going to walk you through what I do. I start my day in surrender. This might be a good time to jot down some notes. I start my day with surrender. Each morning, place your hand on your heart and say, I surrender to the flow of life today. I trust that everything is happening for my highest good. And you know what? I'm going to put these steps in the description too. And that way, if you're listening to this while you're driving or whatever, you don't have to worry about it. So these steps that I'm about to outline for you will be in the description wherever you're watching this. So we're going to say in the morning, I surrender to the flow of life. I trust that everything is happening for my highest good. And I personally say this, but I also write it at the top of my journal. I have this little journal calendar that I use every day to jot notes and to-dos and inspirations. And I always write it in there too. So it might be helpful for you to write also. Number 2, throughout the day, choose love over fear. So in moments of doubt, in moments of anxiety, pause and say, what would love do here? What would love do? And I have this question as my phone backdrop, as my laptop backdrop. I have it on sticky notes all throughout my house because it's this constant reminder, this call back to love, this call back to source, this call back to our highest selves. What would love do here? Whether it's a conversation, a challenge, or a decision, first align with love. Number 3, throughout the day, open to receiving. Miracles often show up in unexpected ways, so we have to practice noticing and receiving them. Whether it's a kind word, an opportunity, or a moment of beauty. When I was really diving into receiving and how I could open to more, I noticed everything. I noticed, I mean, even just yesterday, I observed as I was leaving the gym, this older man opened the door for me and like went out of his way to open the door for me. And he said, I hope you have a really beautiful day. And then he literally jogged to the second door because it was like a double door and opened it for me and told me to drive safe. And I just felt so blessed in that moment. Maybe it's somebody buying you a cup of coffee. Maybe it's a smile from a stranger. Maybe it's a friend saying they prayed for you. There's so many different ways to receive that we often take for granted. But I'm telling you, when you start to observe and appreciate, you open more and more. And then these moments of receiving become really big and miraculous as well. So, an affirmation that I love is I allow life to support me. I am open to receiving miracles. I allow life to support me, and I am open to receiving miracles. Step 4 is throughout your day, trust in divine timing. When impatience arises, remind yourself what is meant for me is already on its way. I trust the timing. This one was big for me because I would always get in my head. I would have these desires and goals and all of these things. And when I didn't see the fruits of my labor in the moment I wanted to, I would get in my head and I would start to doubt. And I would tune in, and Source would always say, Nikayla, you've got to trust my timing. So being able to remind myself of that through all the day helps me to remain open and surrendered. What is meant for me is already on its way. I trust the timing. And then step 5, gratitude, 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 because it is a magnet for miracles. Gratitude shifts you immediately out of lack and into alignment. I do this all throughout my day, but I'm going to ask you to do it at least every night. Reflect on 3 ways the universe showed up for you that day. You can journal it, you can say it out loud, you can think it in your head, and I promise if you don't feel like you can be into a place of gratitude, start small and you will be shocked at the way the gratitude flows. I am grateful for my breath. I am grateful for the blood in my veins. I am grateful to have lived another day. I am grateful for this bed underneath my body. I am grateful for the fresh air I have to breathe. I am grateful for running water, whatever it is, just tap in. And it can be bigger things too. Maybe some really fun things that happened for you that day. But acknowledge them and feel into them, especially right before you go to sleep. So, again, that practice of really embodying that throughout your day will be in the description. But before we start to wrap this up, I want to bring you through just a tiny mini practice. And there will be an expansive, longer meditation released on Friday, right after the holiday, that's going to really help you dive into Christ consciousness as the frequency. But for right now, I want you to take a moment to really anchor this practice into your being. We're going to take a deep breath and really ground down our energy. If you're in a setting where you can close your eyes, close your eyes. Place one hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly. Take a deep breath in and out, and either repeat silently or aloud. I am a vessel for love, miracles, and divine flow. I surrender to the intelligence of life, trusting that I am supported. I allow miracles to move through me and for me. Feel the truth of these words settle into your heart. Take one more deep breath, and as you exhale, release any resistance. When you're ready, move your body, open your eyes, feeling grounded, opened, and aligned. Sweet one, miracles are not rare. Let me say that again. Miracles are not rare. They are natural. They flow when you align with love, when you surrender, and when you open yourself to receive. This week, I invite you to walk through life as if miracles were inevitable, because they are. And I'll leave you with this: surrender, align, and allow. Miracles are already on their way to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself and for this world. I am so incredibly grateful to each and every one of you, and so honored that I get to walk this path with you. Breathe deep and plan on miracles. Big love.